Okay, let's look at the next tshuva for today. Here we go. And share my screen. Okay. Bedin echad shehiniach ochel chaveru mitachas lamita. Okay, this is regarding the halacha. If I take some of your food and I leave it under my bed. Now, what Choshen Mishpat shilas do you think would come up as a result of that?
Say that again.
I take some of your food and I leave it under my bed.
You're stealing it.
No. I'm storing it for you. You asked me to go to the Makolet and pick you up stuff, a bag of potatoes, and I picked it up late last night, and I'm dropping it off this morning, but I put it under my bed, and then went to bed.
Spiritual bad things happen.
Yeah. So we know there's a halacha, you're not supposed to put food under the bed. And if you do, it poses a sakana, and in some way it may taint the food in some way. And now the problem is that the guy may not want to take the sack of potatoes.
Okay. Spiritual damage.
That's right. Okay, so here's the case. The shaila is as follows. Hitarachli bitzfon b'makom nofesh al sfat hayam. I was a guest somewhere up north in a place that's really by the yam. The echad hanovshim shahaya ba'izar lakach et seidanit ha'ochel sheli v'heniach ota tachat hamita sheyashanti aleha. One of the, I guess, vacationers or makom nofesh. What is b'makom nofesh? I thought that means a vacation. Let's see. Sorry for, I just want to make sure that I get this right. Nofesh. Yeah, recreation. Yeah, he takes the tzeidanit, which is probably the satchel. Tzeidanit. Sorry. The picnic box.
The picnic basket.
Yeah, the picnic basket. Okay. The heniach ota tachat hamita sheyashanti aleh, and put it underneath my bed when I was sleeping. I guess he thought he was doing me a favor, so he took some of my food that was in my picnic basket. Maybe we were dining together, and I said, I'm going to go in and take a nap. So I go in and take a nap, and he doesn't want to disturb me, so he brings the picnic basket, puts it under my bed. The kaven shenifsak b'shulchan aruch lo yitain tavshel v'lo mashkim tachat hamita mipnei shuruach ra shora alehem. A person is not permitted to place cooked food or beverages underneath his bed because there's an evil spirit that rests upon them, shadim. Echad hachaverim zarak et kol ha'ochel yam. So one of the other friends took all the food and threw it into the ocean. He says, no, we're not touching this food. So the guy who put it under my bed, who thinks that we're all nuts, right? Does he have to pay me for having put it under the bed while I was sleeping? So what would you say?
No comment.
What would secular law have to say about this?
You belong in an insane asylum.
I bet you that's not true. What if two people share the same superstitious belief? And one person says, I'm going to put a hex on your property. Or I'm going to put a hex on something that you own.
I often thought about this might be with these Jehovah's Witnesses. What if you gave them a blood transfusion, perfectly good and healthy blood?
Yeah.
Their belief is you can't take a blood transfusion, right? It's bad, right?
Right.
So that's spiritual damage.
Right.
What if you do it without their permission?
Without their permission, right?
But isn't there
Doctor doctor could say it's a life and death because of a situation, right? And then just do the transfusion. Let's say they're unconscious, they can't
Right,
even say
right.
it. And then you find out afterward, well, you knew they were, we did anyway.
Isn't there such a thing as pain and suffering in the law? That if you
Yeah.
cause someone undue distress.
Maybe I was too hasty. Might be right.
Okay, all right, so let's all right. I see the wheels turning in Marvin's mind. He's gonna do some research. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the tshuva is as follows: Pashut hadavar shezeh shehiniach et hatzeidanit tachat hamita. He says, first of all, one thing is obvious: the guy who put the picnic basket underneath the bed, kevin shelo yada she'asur lahaniach ma'acholim tachat hamita. He didn't know that there was such a halacha that you're not supposed to put food under a bed. It's a halacha. Yeah, it is a halacha. It's in the Shulchan Aruch. It's based upon a supernatural belief that, by the way, the Rambam would not subscribe to. Yeah, the Rambam would not subscribe to this, but that's not how we paskin. We paskin like the Shulchan Aruch. Hu patrim ilashalem. So he's going to be exempt to pay because what he's doing is a grama, and it's a hezek she'eno nicker. It's what we call a damage that is not physically discernible. Ki al pi halacha hezek she'eno nicker lo nikra hezek. The law is that if I do some kind of damage that is not physically detectable in your food, then I have not caused the damage. Kevin shelo nasa shinoi mahuti b'chefetz. I have not created an intrinsic change in the object. V'chol hezek she'ino nicker im asakein b'mezid kansu o chachamim she'yishalim. When it comes to non-tangible damages, if a person does it intentionally in order to aggravate the other person, the rabbis held you liable as a penalty. Aval b'shogeg pater kevin delo shaykh liknos oto shelo ya'aseh pam acheret. But in this kind of situation, he did it completely innocently. The only reason why the rabbis penalize a person when he does it, bless you, when he does it intentionally is as a disincentive to repeat the offense.
There is a tort called intentional infliction of mental suffering. So if you intentionally do that to really drive somebody nuts or something, and you actually get really sick, go to psychiatric treatment, that is actionable. But negligent infliction of mental suffering, have to check that.
Okay. ומלבד זאת, במקרה הזה שהאוכל הונח תחת המיטה בלא ידיעת הבעלים, he says first, and then besides that, in a situation where food was placed under the bed of someone without his knowledge, האוכל לא נאסר בכלל, the food does not become prohibited according to Jewish law. כמו שכתוב בשו"ת רב פעילים, דים זה שהניח את האוכל הוא אדם זר. He says, if a strange person comes and puts food under my bed, lo bino velo ishto velo poel shel bal ha'oichel, not my son, not my wife, not a member of my household, not a worker, not an employee, ela adam shelo omrim bo sheyado kiyad balabayis, but rather a person who has no, let's say, rights in the household to do as he pleases, ein shoer ruach ra al ha'ochel. Then even from a metaphysical standpoint, there's no evil spirit that rests on that food. Al derech shenamar ein adam oser davar she'enu shalo, because a person does not have that dominion. The shadim will not want to be involved with that food because it wasn't put there willingly. It wasn't put there volitionally by someone who has rights over that food. Okay? V'lochein pasku hapoiskim im goy shich yain shel Yisrael kedei ligrom lo nezek hayayin lo nesar, and it's for that reason that if a Gentile comes along and he takes your non-mevushal wine and he says, "Ha, you have a bottle of Jewish wine, and I know that if a goy takes your wine and pours it, it becomes usser. So I'm going to just shake up your bottle and I'm going to make your wine prohibited to you. I'm going to play a trick on you." Okay. The wine does not become prohibited. Okay, ve'afal pi sheyain nesach osa tuma b'nefesh ha'adam. And even though you could argue that there's some metaphysical damage to this wine, right? Elavadai shekol davar shenasa bal karcho shel adam lo chalala yain koach tuma. But if it's done against your will, that spiritual impurity does not rest upon the object. Ad kan divrei harav pil, and that's the tshuva of the Rav Pil. V'lochein gam hama'acholim ha'elu shehunchu tachas hamita shelo b'ritzona. He says, when the food was placed under your bed without your knowledge, without your consent, lo nesru, it doesn't become prohibited. Umemela ein mahlachayivoto, and there's no reason to hold the guy who put it under your bed liable. What about the other guy who threw it away? What about that guy? He should be liable because maybe his feeling is,
You didn't know the halacha?
yeah, he was a zealot, right? Sir, we got to throw it away.
Does somebody have to sleep in the bed, or is it just, you're just?
Someone has to sleep. Someone has to sleep in the bed.
Just putting it there, not a problem. It's the actual sign of sleeping on.
I
top.
believe
Is it
so.
Male or female?
I believe so. I don't think it makes a difference.
Did not take place, like, is that,
No,
is that the issue at all, or
No. I don't think. I think it has to do with sleep. Yeah, I see where your mind's going, Moshe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Gemara that he was hiding under the bed when someone was sleeping?
There's a Gemara that says that a certain Amora was hiding under his Rebbe's bed. Yeah, when he was with his wife. And when the Rebbe found out, he said, Ad Khan, like, what are you doing, intruding my privacy? He says, so the student said, Torah, it's Torah, and I have to learn. I have to know how to speak to my wife. I got to know how to, I'm a great student, right? Anyway. Okay. Yeah, I'll look under my bed tonight, boys. Yeah. All right. Va'ayin od, b'shut.
Rabbi, is it specifically food or could it be drinks as well?
It's food and drinks. You're not supposed to put any food or drink underneath your bed, even if you're short on storage. It's the one place where the Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to place any consumable goods.
So Moish is in trouble for sure. It includes drinks.
Oh, okay, because he hides all of his liquor. Okay, and Moish has a big liquor collection. Yeah, but you just can't put it under your bed. Okay. Va'ayin od b'shut salmas chayim lahagrich Sonnenfeld. So I'm just reading from the Makor Baruch. He says, I refer you to Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld Sefer, where he also discusses this issue. Shekam kasav sheruach ra rak chalal oichel shel adam atzmo. That it's only your food, that if you put it under your bed, it's going to have a ruach ra, an evil spirit. Avalim echad lokach oichel shel chavero v'hinicho tachas hamita. But if someone takes food that's not theirs and puts it underneath the bed, ein bazer ruach ra. There's no evil spirit that falls onto that food. Ubir sham hatam, and he explains the reason. The kaven shena yochel lahotzi mimenu, the based in mishum dahavi hezek she'eno nicker. And the reason he explains is because since the aggrieved party, the party who owns the food, cannot sue in a based-in for those damages because it's what we call an intangible damage. Memela ein la ruach ra rishus. So he says the shadim don't have permission to rest on that food. In other words, they abide by Jewish law also, the shadim, the evil spirit. And if they know that this food was unlawfully, without the owner's knowledge, placed under the bed, they're not going to invade that food, so to speak. Okay, which is fascinating. Right, this whole realm, this whole supernatural realm that the shadim have to abide by halacha. V'tzarachian bazeh dahav sof sof asa hezek el shebeistin lo yicholim l'chayvo kevin shezek eno nicker. V'im ken amay part prat zeh garm shelo yashrel ha'oichel ruach ra. So the Makor Baruch himself says, I don't understand how this works. He says just because a person can't sue in based in, that's going to cause the shadim to not invade the food. a person, you can always damage someone else's property and be exempt because it was a grumma or something like that. So does that mean that the damage wasn't caused? So he doesn't understand the principle. But I guess when it comes to the metaphysical realm, there's certain things that we simply just don't fathom. Okay, now va'od kasav sham harav pe'ilim bedin shoichet musmach v'yirei shamayim sheshachat b'sakin peguma v'lo hirgish va'achlu anashim et habasar. So the Rav Pe'ilim deals with another issue. He says a shochet who's experienced, has been doing this for many years, slaughtered a chicken or an animal with a knife that wasn't checked properly. And so it had a pegima, it had a nick in the knife. And people ate the meat, and then later they discovered that the knife was defective. She says, we know the Torah says that if you ingest non-kosher food, it causes spiritual damage to your soul, okay? It's not just that you're violating the Torah, but it makes you tameh in some way, that you become spiritually tainted. V'dorshu chazal al tikri v'nitmeisem ela v'nitamtem, that our sages say that it creates a certain spiritual closure of the heart. She'ochel lo kosher mitamtem libo shel adam, okay? Mikol makom ba'ofen shahaya anus zelo mitameoto. But if a person eats non-kosher food unintentionally, thinking that it's kosher, that timtum halev does not set in. That spiritual taint does not enter into his neshama, which is a really interesting thing to think about. Remember that guy in Muncie who was selling the treif chickens years ago, and people had to kosher their pots, and it was a whole scandal, right? But the question now is, what about the metaphysics of it? Like, did all those people ingest something that tainted their souls? And according to the Rav Pe'ilim, if they didn't know about it, their souls were not tainted as a result.
And if they did know about it, then they brought it on themselves anyway, huh?
Right. Well, they brought it on themselves, but they have to do not only tshuva for the prohibition, for the prohibited act, but they also have to work on alleviating the residual effects of a tainted soul, whatever that means. Whatever tshuva, you'd go to a makubal and he'd tell you this is how you unclog your spiritual arteries or whatever,
Would that same apply for Kinach Shemishta?
Yeah. Presumably so. Kibat velu treifa lo habasar hu hamitame es nefesh ha'adam. I think I may have lost my audience. He says, I think, are the guys still on?
No, we're here.
Oh, you're here. Okay. Kibasar nevelu treifa lo habasar hu hamitame es nefesh ha'adam. He says, because it's not the actual meat that's non-kosher that taints a person's soul. Ela kol davar tameh v'asar shora alav koach ruchni shel tuma. But rather, it is anything that is prohibited rests upon a person's soul and causes that taint. He says, and that's the reason why, because he's eating something that's prohibited, that this force of tuma, whatever that is, enters into him and rests upon him. But if he's completely unaware, okay, he doesn't know at all about that this item is a prohibited substance. Velohu garam la'atzmo sheyikoshel bishkag, and he wasn't the cause of his accidental ingestion. Ein rishus l'koach hatuma lihikanes bo velo lihiyos nogea bo. Then the forces of impurity do not have permission to enter into his neshama and to harm him in any way. So this is the reassurance that we are given by these mystical rabbis who basically say, if you ate something treif, like don't think that you have the cooties, that you're contaminated. If it was not your intent, if you did it by accident, like don't freak out, okay?
So those people in New York, when that happened in Jersey, do they have to counter all their pots and pans?
That for sure they have to do, because halacha is halacha. If the flavor entered into their pots because they cooked chicken in their pots, then they have to kosher their pots.
All your cutlery, you would affect
Yeah,
everything.
everything. Families replaced all of their kitchenware after this scandal.
We can't kosher.
Some things you can kosher, other things you can't.
The barbecue, what would you do with the barbecue?
You can kosher a
You
barbecue.
burn it, but the plates, what you put in the boil, like do a.
Plates can't be kosher. Plates can't.
Cannot?
No.
Can't stick it in the ground and pretend it's going.
Metal can be koshered. Glass can be koshered, but earthenware cannot be koshered. Porcelain, ceramic cannot be kosher.
So everybody threw out their stuff.
Presumably so, yeah. I don't know, unless they got some kind of heter that I'm not aware of. Yeah.
What
Okay.
happened to that guy?
No, he's given Daf Yomi in the big prison in the sky. I don't know what happened to him. Okay, but let's just finish and then we'll go back and look at the footnote. V'lachein lahalacha kol hama'acholim shehunchu ba'ones tachas hamita lo shora aleihem ruach ra. And therefore, halachically, there is no evil spirit that rested on that food that was put innocently under the guy's bed. Upashut shezeh shehiniach tachat hamita pater me'at tashlumin. So the guy who put it under the bed is pater in ganzen. He has absolutely no liability. V'im yesh l'chayev, if there's anyone to hold liable, yesh l'chayev et zeh shezarak et ha'ma'achalim layam. We should hold that guy liable. You zealot. Like, wait until the guy wakes up and let us ask the Shiloh first before you start taking food that's not yours and throwing it into the ocean. He says, and then the Makor Baruch says, he says, and this is especially true because there are so many other accompanying arguments that can be made to be lenient with this food that was placed under his bed. He says the Shvus Yaakov writes that it's only lechatchila that you're not allowed to put food under your bed. But b'di'eved, the food is still permissible.
They don't have money or poor or
Yeah.
Where's
Right.
all these other things.
Absolutely. V'yesh omrim d'yesh lahakelim haritzpa mirutzefet. And some poskim say that you can be lenient as long as the floor is not a dirt floor. But it's
to do with
because maybe the shadim only come up through the dirt. Or maybe the belief, listen, I'm not here to be the Ghostbuster. I'm not here to be the person. Yeah, I'm not here to be the person who just poo-poos mystical things. But a lot of the time that the rabbis instituted these halachos, sometimes they were for very principled reasons that were very pragmatic. So, for example, not leaving water exposed overnight was because of snakes originally. There also happens to be a ruach ra, an evil spirit that can rest on the water. But the original takana was because of snakes. A lot of times these things having to do with ruach ra also have accompanying physical phenomena. Maybe one of the reasons originally the rabbis didn't want you to put food under your bed was because of the critters that are going to come and invade them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ghostbusters doesn't. Right?
Okay. So therefore, there are some poskim who say that if you live in a high rise and the floor is paved and it's very clean in the house, then the food is still going to be permitted. V'od kama snifim. And there are other arguments to be made. Ein la Rabbeinu Hagadol b'shut yabia oimer chelek aleph yoredeya simin tesin yud. Rav Ovadia has a number of reasons to be makel in this kind of thing. Maybe we'll just take a quick look at Rav Ovadia and see what he has to say. Chelek aleph It's great that I have this now on my hard drive. Yeah. Okay, so we go to the Yabia Omer. Balak Aleph. What Simonim did he say? Simon, Tes, and Yud. Okay. This tshuva has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Let me see, maybe Yud. These tshuvas have apparently nothing to do with what we're talking about. So I don't know why he's telling us. Oh, sorry, Chelik Yoredeya. Oh, sorry. So that would make sense why I missed out on it. Chelik, this is Chelik Orachaim. So Chelik Yoredeya. Here we go. Benogea la'ochlim u'mashkim sheshohu tachat hamita. Im afshar lahatiran b'di'eved. V'im yesh chiluk bazeh b'enim yashnu al hamita bod hochlim tachteh o lo. And also, Rebbe Vadia asks, is there a difference whether you slept in the bed or not? So this is also part of his shaila. Okay, maybe we'll take a look at it.
Apartments in Israel that people don't have proper storage. They would throw,
Yeah,
6 cases of water underneath someone's bed. And
absolutely, absolutely. Doesn't have to be in Israel.
Right,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
One is so specific because people.
People have a more limited space. All right. Yeah, why don't we take a look at this tshuva tomorrow in the Yabia Omer? We'll take a look tomorrow. Okay. All right. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Doesn't make. Yeah. It's hard to.
Yeah.
This.